Hello everyone. In this module, we will be looking at journey of data centers, how the data center network have evolved, and more than how, I will be talking about why the data center network has evolved. And then in the subsequent modules, we will be seeing that how these dots that we will be talking in this module will connect our dots for a AI enabled data center. And talking about this why behind the evolution, it is actually a story of two partners. Here, I can share one personal thing as well, that my wife loves dancing. She actually knows different forms of dance, and as and when any festival come, she take part and she also take me along while I am very terrible at the dancing. So whenever such things happen, she tries to educate me with some move. I copy those and try to cop up. But guess what? When the next festival comes, the dance form change, the move change, and I now need to learn that new form, and basically I struggle. But here, coming back to our original two partners, or when I will talk about it, you will know that why I told you this short personal story. These two partners are our application and network. Application was learning these new dance forms very quickly, whereas the network guy was struggling. What were these dance forms that application was learning and network was just following? We will be looking at that. But here it is very difficult to say no to wife, and I have to cop up with different dance form. Same way, network cannot say no to application. It has to tune in to those different dance forms which application is asking the network to dance. And what are those dance forms? So let's just see those terms in our next slide. So to look at those different stages of application where it was dancing differently, we need to see the evolution of it. And in the era of monolithic, basically the network was relaxing. It was sitting on the chair doing nothing because everything was happening inside the server and there was no reliance on the network at all. And then the next gen of application came, and this was basically this client and server over the LAN. And that's where the network started becoming sophisticated. Fast forward, as the time progressed, the data that was exchanged by application was not only text, it was also audio or video. And this again put a toll on the network. And while this was happening, the third wave already came and internet was getting popular. TCP IP was getting the limelight, and that's where these applications, the web application basically, they broke the wall of an enterprise or a data center and were accessible by internet across the globe. And when this information explosion happened, when this internet was at its peak, the race for the search engine began. And here Google was actually leading it. And just to give you some stats here, that Google actually process 8.5 billion search queries per day. What does that mean? That means 90,000 queries per second. And this was not at all possible for a single server. So, what happened? The servers became more disaggregated. The cluster based application architecture came into picture. And this, and listen to me very carefully here, when these servers, different servers, became disaggregated, this marked a fundamental historical shift in the traffic patterns, where server to server traffic was rising exponentially versus in these earlier architecture where the north south traffic was more. And then this microservices architecture came in. But what is the point that I'm trying to highlight? I'm not here to explain any of these application architecture. I'm just saying that application was evolving through these different stages. Application was learning these different dance forms, and as these dance forms were getting intense, the reliance on the network was basically increasing. And that's where, if we look in the network architecture perspective, traditionally the data center network were designed as access aggregation at core, where your gateways reside on these aggregations. And till here this was L2 and STP was coming in blocking half of the bandwidth. All those things were there. And as that server disaggregation happened, the network also tuned in and learned a new dance form, or it was also got transformed into a leaf spine architecture. This architecture is even serving the data center network today. And of course, in terms of technologies, like the way these networks were configured with L2 with the gateway on the aggregation, here we brought down the gateway, we built it like a fabric with VXLAN, EVPN, ACI. So all those evolutions were happening. Why? Because the underlying application was evolving. And guess what? Now we are talking about AI. In this course, I will show you, because this is a different dance form altogether. If I just want to stick with my analogy, and that's where Mr. Network has to evolve to cope up with this new dance form. Does that mean that the leaf spine network architecture is going away or something new is coming? That is what we will see in our subsequent module. But before that, because the leaf spine network architecture is a scale out architecture, it is very interesting. So I want to spend some time explaining few key points about this leaf spine network architecture. And with that, I will see you in our next module on some more details on the leaf spine network architecture. Thank you.